glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bo. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Dev Gaudavani Vachani Nirvasi Shunyavali Pasyati Deshatadine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We're studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, Verse 6. We'll start with the Sanskrit. Second here, okay. Bhavoloka palanam.
Bhavaloka palanam.
Prayasa shema karmanam.
Prayasha shema karmanam.
Bhavoloka palanam.
Bhavaloka palanam.
Prayasa shema karmanam.
Prayashema karmanam.
Bhavoloka palanam.
Bhavaloka palanam.
Prayasa shema karmanam.
Prayasha shema karmanam.
Devotees, please.
Bhavaloka palanam.
Bhavaloka palanam.
Prayasha shema karmanam.
Vakarmanam. Bhavaloka palanam. Prayasha shema karmanam. Bhavaloka palanam. Prayasha shema karmanam. Okay, synonyms. Oh, ask. Would anyone like to say the verse, chant the verse from online?
Bahavo lokapalanam
Bhavaloka palanam.
prayasah kshema karmanam
Prayasha shema karmanam.
Bhavalokapalanam
Bhavaloka palanam.
Prayasa Kshema Karmanam.
Prayasha shema karmanam.
Krishna.
Anyone else?
Bahavo-loka-palanam
Bhavaloka palanam.
prayasha-kshema-karmanam
Prayasha shema karmanam.
Hare Krishna. Bahavo-loka-palanam prayasha-kshema-karmanam.
Bhavaloka palanam. Prayasha shema karmanam.
Hare Krishna. Bhavaho Loka Palanam
Bhavaloka palanam.
Prayashaha Kshema Kamanam.
Prayasha shema karmanam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, synonyms. Bhava, arms. Loka palanam,
Loka palanam.
of the governing deities of the planets, the demigods.
Of the governing deities of the planets, the demigods.
Prayasha,
Prayasha.
almost always.
Almost always.
Shema karmanam,
Shema karmanam.
of those who are leaders and protectors of the general mass.
Those who are leaders and protectors of the general mass.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai. The Lord's arms are the productive fields for the great demigods. and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass. This important verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is corroborated and nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita 10:41-42 as follows. Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam Srimad urjitam eva va tat tad eva gachatvam mama tejo masha sambhavam atava bahu naitena kim janatena tarvajuna vishbhaya Vishtabhayam idam Krishnam ekashnena shteto jagat. There are many powerful kings, leaders, learned scholars, scientists, artists, engineers, inventors, excavators, archaeologists, industrialists, politicians, economists, business magnates, and many more powerful deities or demigods like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Surya, Varuna, and Marut, who are all protecting the interest of the universal affairs of maintenance in different positions, and all of them are different powerful parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, is the father of all living entities who are placed in different high and low positions according to their desires or aspirations. Some of them, as particularly mentioned above, are specifically endowed with powers by the will of the Lord. A sane person must know for certain that a living being, however powerful he may be, is neither absolute nor independent. All living beings must accept the origin of their specific power, as mentioned in this verse. And if they act accordingly, then simply by discharging their respective occupational duties, they can achieve the highest perfection of life, namely eternal life, complete knowledge, and inexhaustible blessings. As long as the powerful men of the world do not accept the origin of their respective powers, namely the personality of Godhead, the actions of Maya, illusion, will continue to act. The actions of Maya are such that a powerful person misled by the illusory material energy wrongly accepts himself as all in all and does not develop God consciousness. As such, the false sense of egoism, namely myself and mine, has become overly prominent in the world, and there is a hard struggle for existence in human society. The intelligent class of men, therefore, must admit the Lord as the ultimate source of all energies and thus pay tribute to the Lord for his good blessings. Simply by accepting the Lord as the supreme proprietor of everything, since he is actually so, one can achieve the highest perfection of life, whatever a person may be in the estimation of the social order of things. If a person tries to reciprocate a feeling of love towards the supreme personality of Godhead and is satisfied with the blessings of the Lord, he will at once feel the highest peace of mind for which he is hankering life after life. Peace of mind, or in other words, the healthy state of mind, can be achieved only when the mind is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The parts and parcels of the Lord are endowed with specific powers for rendering service unto the Lord, just as a big business magnate's sons are empowered with specific powers of administration. The obedient son of the Father never goes against the will of the Father, and therefore passes life very peacefully in concurrence with the head of the family, the Father. Similarly, the Lord being the Father, all living entities should fully and satisfactorily discharge the duty and will of the Father as faithful sons. This very mentality will at once bring peace and prosperity to human society. Jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanyam Hanobishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Svapandantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vikasha Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pajamini Nirvishisha Sunyavadi Paschati Deshathalini Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Bhutaleshi Mati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namaste. Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before starting, I'd like to ask permissions and blessings from all the advanced Vaishnavas in attendance and throughout the universe to help me speak in line with the parampara. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming this morning. Nice to see all the devotees in the temple and also online. We have a very fun verse. The arms of the Lord, the protective arms, protecting the world, protecting all of us. We're thinking that we are being protected by the fools and rascals as described in the verse. So I have some interesting points here. But what's cool about this verse is that it actually gives us direction on how we can attain peace of mind. We're all hankering for peace of mind. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that peace of mind, is the basis for happiness. How can one be happy without peace? So this verse in purport gives us the conclusion and the direction on how we can practically find real happiness in our life. So much is advertised about happiness in the world. Everyone wants to become happy. And there's a lot of discussion on how you can become happy. But mostly that happiness is an advertisement for exploitation. They're telling you that they can make you happy, but they're really just trying to get your money. This is the basis for all type of advertising and marketing. So we're fooled in so many ways. We're fooled thinking that we're going to find happiness in material things. We're going to find happiness in this outward expression of sense gratification. But anyone who has come to the understanding of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita can understand the basic 2+2 formulation of spiritual life, which is that we are not this body, and anything that is born of this material world and a product of this material world that is not in connection with the soul is temporary, and anything that is temporary cannot give us real, true satisfaction. So we are seeking after something, trying to find happiness on the platform of materialism, and we end up frustrated over and over again. But we try so hard, and we go after it in so many different ways. But we're seeking in the wrong place, but we are getting the direction from the supremely compassionate and wonderfully merciful Srila Prabhupada and the line of teachers that have come to this material world to give us the direction and guidance and place us in the right way so that we can actually find and attain that peace of mind and the protection that we are seeking, the shelter that we are seeking. So we'll get into the points of this purport here, just kind of one by one. And the beginning of it, so the main practical point that we really want to take, that I took from this and that I think we can really take from this lesson today, is that we can find happiness. We can find happiness in this material world despite our experience of being frustrated so many times. And we'll really explore and dive deep into that. And hopefully everyone can take that away at the end. So we'll start with the purport here. I want to kind of go through piece by piece. The beginning of it, as Srila Prabhupada says, there are many powerful kings, leaders, learned scholars, scientists, artists, engineers, inventors, excavators, archaeologists, industrialists, politicians, economists, business magnates, and many more powerful deities or demigods. All of these powerful living entities. Just in this material world, we see so many powerful people. I mean, realistically, they're thinking they have power over this small piece of ground or so many people in this material world. But what power do we really have? But then you take it one step higher and we have those who are more powerful. They're controlling the energies that we cannot even conceive of in our kind of material conditioned human state. And these are the demigods like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Surya, Varuna, Marut, who are controlling all of the different comings and goings of the different aspects of the planets and so many things that are incredibly difficult for us to even conceive of. But what does it say here? All of them are different powerful parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. So the source of the power of all the so-called powerful men in this world and the powerful controlling living entities and demigods are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this regard, this is kind of a little bit of a side note, but not really. It kind of ties into the point. This morning when I was driving here, it was really early in the morning, and there was a car in front of me, and they had a bumper sticker. And the bumper sticker on the car, this is a great bumper sticker. It said, "My dog for president." And I thought, this is really good. This is really good. This is a perfect representation of the material mind at work. Right. So first of all, we can dissect this real quick. Like, first of all, they're thinking like their dog is going to be a good president, but they're actually on the right track because there already is a dog, a doggish mentality running. And it's not like it's all the presidents, all of the controllers, as the Srimad Bhagavatam describes, that will be happening in Kali Yuga. They are run by their senses. They are run by their own, doggish mentalities of how they can achieve more and how they can gain more and how they can gratify their senses. And so this bumper sticker was just saying, okay, well, of all the dogs, my dog could be the better dog running for this. And in America, we have this very great fondness for dogs, and there's nothing wrong with dogs. They're very nice animals. They're like, the dog is the man's best friend and things like that. But when we're in a ignorant position of the importance and the value of human life, we think that a dog or the doggish mentality can actually be a better ruler than a person that could actually lead us towards a higher level of understanding of who we are. So this is the general mentality that we have when we're in the material conditioned mind, which is that those who can help us with better sense gratification, or those who are great at sense gratification or control, can guide us towards a higher level of sense gratification. And whether that's a dog or a human being, whatever that is, they're gonna give us the key. They're gonna give us the solution to finding our happiness. But in regards to dog, Prabhupada made many comments in this regard. He said, you either worship God or you worship dog. It's a play on words, because ultimately we see that we're always trying to seek and serve and worship something. But when that is misdirected, you see our consciousness gets pulled down, and we get pulled into this like lower level of like reality, where in actuality we could use our mind to worship God, which will bring us to one destination. But instead, because of ignorance, we're worshiping dogs and so many other things that bring us down, that bring us to a lower stage of life. But that's our own choice. Like, we have a choice, but and mostly we have a choice in one sense, and we don't have a choice, because when we don't have knowledge, we're kind of like stuck. There's only one dimension. If we don't have knowledge of the real purpose of life, and we don't have knowledge of the ultimate position of the soul in the body, then we are kind of stuck using the resources that we have available to us to attempt to try to gain that satisfaction out of a kind of two-dimensional cardboard life. But once we get that knowledge, this is such the important aspect and of why Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas and Krishna himself has come to teach and guide the human beings, because we came into this material world due to our desire to control and be the controller and turning away from Krishna. But we don't remember that we did that. So we fell down, and here we are. So now, by getting the knowledge, we actually have a choice. We have an opportunity to come out of the ignorance that will ultimately lead us to more repeated suffering, repeated birth, repeated death, repeated old age and disease. But no one really wants that. But Krishna consciousness is like, it's, speaking of dogs, I mean, or every other living entity, Krishna consciousness is ultimately not just for the human beings. It's for all living entities, because we are all part and parcel of Krishna. So in that sense, all souls, all living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme. And in that way, we all have a common father. And it's an interesting story. Even a dog was liberated actually by in Chaitanya Leela, right? Does anyone remember that story? Shivananda Sain, he had a dog. Shivananda Sain was a householder. He was very close associate of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. And Shivananda Sain somehow got this street dog, and he was so happy and he loved it. I mean, he loved this dog, and he even paid for the dog to take the ferry across the river and really took care of this dog. And somehow the dog got connected with Lord Chaitanya when he was coming back from Vrindavan to Jagannath Puri. And as he made his way back, somehow Shivananda Sain didn't realize that the dog he didn't know what happened to the dog, and he got separated from Lord Chaitanya. But when Shivananda Sain caught up with Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri, he saw the dog and he saw Lord Chaitanya giving the dog coconut pulp, actually remnants of his prasad. So the dog was then chanting Hare Krishna and dancing with Lord Chaitanya. This is in the CC. This is legitimate. And then the dog went back to Godhead. That's what it says. So if a dog can make it back to Godhead and get the mercy of the Lord Chaitanya, so can we. We can make it back. Okay, so this is a great opportunity for us to keep in mind that we actually have that Lord Chaitanya is extremely merciful, and so is Srila Prabhupada. So we'll just move on a little bit here into the purport. The next piece, which is very interesting, this is from the purport. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the father of all living entities, who are placed in different high and low positions according to their desires or their aspirations. So according to our desires and our aspirations, that which we focus on, we are placed in different bodies. There we have it. This is how we ended up in the human form of life. This is how we end up in different bodies, according to our desire and our aspirations. So we have the choice on what desires we focus on what aspirations we go after. And as it says here, Krishna is the father of all living entities. So there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna explains this. Does anyone know the verse? It is in the 14th chapter. 14:4. Sarvayoni sukonteya murtaya sambhavantiya. Tasam Brahma Hadajonir Aham Bij Pradapita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. So this is Krishna saying, this is Krishna, there's the exact understanding. Krishna is the seed-giving father of all living entities. So that is why in the Krishna consciousness movement, we don't just focus on, we understand that the human form of life, it mostly has the ability, unless there's some really heavy mercy coming down that to a dog or to whatever, that human form of life is this opportunity to attain a higher level of consciousness and really truly seek after Krishna consciousness and seek after a higher status and stage of life to be able to come out of this repeated cycle of material existence. So the human form of life is very valuable, and Krishna is the supreme father for all of us. And if we can keep that in our minds and make sure that we maintain that as the basis of our understanding, then we can have compassion for all other living entities. And we can also utilize our human life for the value that it was actually meant for, which is self-realization. So, and one other point that I was listening to a lecture from Srila Prabhupada, and it's interesting because he really like honed in on this point about Krishna consciousness being available for everyone, and that it wasn't a specific religion, or it wasn't Hinduism, or it's not, Christianity, or, Hinduism, Christianity, Muslim, like Islam, like those are all faiths, but ultimately the teaching of Krishna consciousness is a teaching for all living entities, and it's a teaching for all human beings that is giving us the actual truth of who we are. So it is for everyone. And anyone in any faith can understand this philosophy and understand the truth of who they are. And Prabhupada made the point that real religion is, or any real faith is, leading people towards love of God. And that is the highest attainment of this human form of life, is to go through the stages of faith, bhav, up to prema, like getting to that point of highly concentrated bliss, of love, it's like, so it's eternal bliss in love of God. And that is our real true, that's our goal. That's the highest goal. And that's our real true position. So, all right, we'll go on in this verse here. It says, in the purport, here's the purport. Some of them, as particularly mentioned above, are specifically endowed with powers by the will of the Lord. A sane person must know for certain that a living being, however powerful he may be, is neither absolute nor independent. We are neither absolute nor independent. As much as we want to try to establish this for ourselves, that we are independent and that we have freedom. Freedom is also this big thing, we love freedom, especially in America. We're free, but what are we really free? How are we really free? We're stuck in these bodies, and these bodies do what they want to do. We have some limited control over how they move or whatever, but so many things happen to these bodies. So we are subordinate to the will of the Supreme, and we can ignore that fact for a while in our lives, especially when we're younger. We're like, but as we get older, we start to realize that, oh, wait, I'm not as in control of this thing as I thought. We foolishly think we're the enjoyer. We foolishly think we're the controller, and we look for friends outside. We look for the shelter and the relationships in the material world that are going to give us happiness. But actually, this is the important point that is put out by Prabhupada in so many purports and verses. Krishna is, if everyone in the world just understood this point, Krishna is the controller. That means Krishna is he's the enjoyer. Krishna is the enjoyer. We are not the enjoyer. This is the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. The Krishna is the supreme. We are part and parcel of that. The supreme is the enjoyer. That's Krishna. He's the owner, the controller, or the proprietor, how you want to put it. So the enjoyer, the proprietor, and he is the well-wishing best friend of all living entities. These 3 points are fundamental points of Krishna consciousness, of the reality of existence, of the philosophical reality of existence. So we're on the other side of this. We are thinking we're the controller, we're thinking we're the owner, and we're thinking that other living entities in this material world are our real friends. So in that, Prabhupada says that is material mentality, that is material existence. And that the understanding of those 3 points will actually transform all of society. And it's the misunderstanding of the actual position, bless you, of the actual position of Krishna and the jiva that is creating all the havoc that we see in the world from a societal level and from an individual level. So we can't do so much on a societal level. We can, but ultimately what we can really make a difference on is on our own individual level. So by understanding those points, it's not just understanding. It's like being in a place of realization. So to get to that real realization, because it's so deeply ingrained in us, we actually have to do sadhana. We have to have a practice. We have to decontaminate our consciousness, cleanse the dust from the mirror of our consciousness to actually be able to have that realization. Because until the practical theory and understanding of that is fully realized, we're operating from that position subconsciously, like we don't even recognize that we're doing it. So that's the practice of Krishna consciousness. That's the practice of what Srila Prabhupada has given us here. Regulative principles, chanting Hare Krishna, associating with devotees, taking prasadam. And it is like an austerity. It is like especially, it's not really that difficult. It's joyously performed. It's not complicated. It's pretty simple. Like you could organize your life in such a way and live in, stay closely connected with one of the thousands of temples, hundreds, thousands of temples, whatever it is around the world that were developed through Srila Prabhupada. But we have a very difficult time doing it, mostly because we're just being pulled here and there by all of the different aspects of material society, and we're so messed up because of where we're living in the time that we're living in. But let's go on in the verse here, in the purport. All living beings must accept the origin of their specific power, as mentioned in this verse. And if they act accordingly, then simply by discharging their respective occupational duties, they can achieve the highest perfection of life, namely eternal life, complete knowledge, and inexhaustible blessings. So I think this is referring to like the varnashram system, where if you're operating inside of your varna in your ashram, this discharging your respective occupational duties, you can achieve the highest perfection of life. So ultimately, the highest perfection of life will give us complete knowledge and inexhaustible blessings. But as we go on, as long as the powerful men of the world do not accept the origin of their respective powers, namely the personality of Godhead, the actions of Maya, illusion, will continue to act. The actions of Maya are such that a powerful person misled by the illusory material energy wrongly accepts himself as all in all and does not develop God consciousness. And such, the false sense of egoism, namely myself and mine, has become overly prominent in the world, and there is a hard struggle for existence in human society. The false sense of egoism is gaining so much steam. Not that it's gaining steam, it has been gaining steam since the beginning of Kali Yuga, and it is gaining more and more steam rapidly, especially with the advent of the inauspicious social media and technology that has been developed, so that rapidly Maya and the illusion can reach people in every corner of the world, directly in their face, in every possible area of the world, and drag them down further and further and further, and deepen and strengthen this false sense of egoism, namely myself and mine, has become, and so this is becoming overly prominent. And this is when Srila Prabhupada was writing this is in the 70s, well, maybe this is in the 70s, early 70s. And look at what it's come to now. So what does that mean for us? We have to be very careful and aware that we understand and recognize the source of power. The source of power is not the people in this world. The source of power is not those who are making a great show at the control of this world, who have, gripped up resources and gripped up power in the political arenas, and are making a show to say that they're helping you, they're helping them, but really they're just controlling. The source of everyone's power, yours, mine, the demigods, everything, is Krishna. And this realization and this fundamental piece for us can actually guide us and direct us towards a proper understanding and a proper direction in life. So let's go on here. The intelligent class of men, therefore, must admit the Lord as the ultimate source of all energies, and thus pay tribute to the Lord for his good blessings. So many leaders is so-called paying tribute to the leaders, or to God or this or that. But what tribute? Actually, they're not acknowledging that the source of their power is really Krishna. Simply by accepting the Lord as the supreme proprietor of everything, since he is actually so, one can achieve the highest perfection of life. Whatever a person may be in the estimation of the social order of things, if a person tries to reciprocate a feeling of love towards the supreme personality of Godhead and is satisfied with the blessings of the Lord, he will at once feel the highest peace of mind for which he is hankering like life after life. Here we go. This right here will give us how to attain peace of mind, reciprocating the feelings of love with Krishna. That's so, and this is very interesting, or it's great that Prabhupada put this, whatever a person may be in the estimation of social order of things. So wherever we are, wherever we're falling in the so-called social order of high and low, whether we be, on the lowest rung of society or the highest rung of society, we can attain this just by reciprocation, by understanding that we're trying to reciprocate a feeling of love towards the Supreme. And this is ultimately the peace formula. This is how we can find and attain peace in our own lives. So Prabhupada goes on, peace of mind, or in other words, the healthy state of mind, can be achieved only when the mind is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So peace of mind is the healthy state of mind. And it can be achieved only when the mind is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So this is as it goes on. The parts and parcels of the Lord are endowed with specific powers for rendering service unto the Lord, just as a big business magnat's sons are empowered with specific powers of administration. The obedient son of the Father never goes against the will of the Father and therefore passes life very peacefully in concurrence with the head of the family. So when we connect back in with our Supreme Father, it's like we've been wandering in the streets as beggars, and we can connect back in with our supremely wealthy Father that will take care of us when we go back to him. Back to the purport. Similarly, the Lord being the Father, all living beings should fully and satisfactorily discharge the duty and will of the Father as faithful sons. And here's how he rounds it out, Prabhupada. This very mentality will at once bring peace and prosperity to human society. So what we have in the purport here is the absolute direction in relation to how we can attain peace on a societal level, prosperity on a societal level, and also peace and prosperity in our own lives. And that is by understanding that Krishna is the supreme, that he is the controller, that he is the enjoyer, that he is our best well-wishing friend, and ultimately, as it is described in this verse, he is the protector. And he is the anyone that we think is on the lower level of protection, from the demigods down to the so-called leaders of this material world, their source is all in Krishna. The power source, the true protection is coming from Krishna. So if we can go under the shelter of Krishna and take that and dedicate our lives and dedicate our consciousness towards understanding that, then we too can find peace and happiness in our life. So at this, I want to open up any questions or any discussions around this verse, or anything that anyone might be considering around this, any objections or anything. Have a little bit of a discussion here. Anything that anyone wants to mention? Yes, Dronacharya Prabhu.
Very nice thought-provoking class. Very relatable.
Thank you.
On the topic of dogs, Srila Prabhupada writes, or in his famous speech on chanting Hare Krishna, he actually says, we have seen practically, even a child can take part in this chanting, or even a dog can take part in it. So
Yeah.
it's interesting how he brought that up,
Right.
about sometimes we look down on like dogs and having animals, and
Yeah.
I mean it's a big thing to have a dog. Like you have a dog, you have to walk the dog, you have to clean it up after it, you have to it's almost like having a like you might as well just have a deity and worship the deity, and otherwise you're worshiping the dog. But they are living beings, and that Prabhupada says they can, and then the example of Shivananda Saint's dog and the compassion of it.
Yeah.
Just made me think of that.
Yeah, I mean, they're, as I said, I mean, they're living entities, and we want to be compassionate to all living entities, but it's this mentality of like, it's almost this, where it's just like misplaced devotion. There's nothing wrong with dogs inertly. It's just like, there's just our consciousness misplaced, devoting our attention towards this other living thing when it should be devoted towards God. How much time do we have? I mean, it's like we're here in this human form of life. Every second is very valuable. So we're going to spend time devoting towards something, like spend it being devoted towards Krishna. Like we never know when it's going to end. It's like, it goes by so fast. So, but yes, very nice. Bhakti David. Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Wow.
I just I thought it kind of important to point out at the beginning of the purport when he cites 1041, verse 1041, that know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So no matter how great we think we are, or how advanced we think we come, it's just a tiny little fragment of Krishna's splendor. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I didn't even mention that verse, which let's read it. Let's just go through and wonderful verse. Two verses actually. What is 1041? Wait, it is. Hold on. Too many tabs open here. What's the 1042 and 1041. Just let me go back here. I'm almost there. Okay. Know that all opulence, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. And then it goes on to the next one. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So what need is there for all this detailed knowledge? I mean, we get the detailed knowledge, but ultimately, the single fragment of Krishna is pervading and supporting everything. It's inconceivable, but pretty cool, pretty far out. Yes, Prabhu. Daniel Kari.
The plane of the words remind me also the one, as Prabhupada mentioned, that plane of the words is Dhamma and God. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it reminds me also some plane of the words with how to develop compassion, which we discussed. And one of the methodology that we have to be grateful. And there is also some in English, some funny plain words. If you're not grateful, then you're grateful.
Mm.
You're a great fool.
Yes. If you're not grateful, then you're grateful.
Yes.
Good.
I like that.
And there is only also one thing I saw many devotees. They when we discussed the demigods, when Prabhupada mentioned in the beginning of the purport. So some devotees, they pay more attention how to not be offensive to the demigods.
Mm.
Like, for example, we took shower in the Ganges, yeah, because it's like standards. We don't want to be offensive to the Varuna, whatever. Yeah. So many things that, and once Prabhupada mentioned, if you follow all rules, you will not leave bathroom till the afternoon.
Right.
So we have to be also, yeah, in this case, we have to be also, what I say, smart or
Practical.
practical.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Krishna is supreme. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, and as we see in this verse, they're all getting their, all the demigods and all the other controllers are getting their power and source of protection from Krishna. Anything else anyone would like to share?
In the beginning, you'd mentioned about happiness
Mm,
and how that's basically what's driving all our motivation to act in anything in this world. And much of the happiness that we're lured into or trying to seek, really somebody is behind it, trying to profit
mhm,
from us.
mhm.
Buy these great sneakers, you
Yeah.
know, and they take $5 to make, but I want to sell them to you for $300. And
Yeah,
we're gonna, and we just get lured into this. And it's just all over, you know.
yeah,
We make money at our jobs, and then we're just tempted, like right away, just to spend on things. So trying to connect that into the philosophy that Krishna is the enjoyer.
mm,
And how do we take that propensity of searching for happiness, wanting to fulfill this desire inside of us for satisfaction, but really understand that Krishna is the enjoyer? How do we pay tribute to Krishna? How do we not give to the just the commercialism of this world,
mm.
but we give to Krishna? Like how does that convert? Like the conversion. What are your thoughts on how do we make that conversion?
Well, it starts, I think what's coming to my mind immediately here is by gaining a higher taste of enjoyment through the practice of Krishna consciousness. And first and foremost, recognizing that there is a happiness that we can experience right here in this material world through Krishna consciousness that we've all experienced to some degree or another, that keeps us in Krishna consciousness, so that we're not allured thinking we're going to get the happiness from the commercialism and the promises that are being made, because we can see the illusion in it. So by practicing Krishna consciousness and associating with devotees, we can establish a higher sense of happiness, because we've all attempted to buy things and have, but it's like, it never really pans out the way that we think it's going to. Like, so it's just that without the higher taste, we don't have any alternative. So by maintaining that, and also I think that's why it's also said so many places, by keeping that association with devotees who are also thinking in this way, we're not falling into the association of the material energy and being kind of, swept away by it. It's very easy to be swept away by that mentality, even if we've had the higher taste. But I think just by ultimately focusing on that higher taste and doing Krishna conscious activities, kirtan, whatever inspires us, finding inspiration in Krishna consciousness and focusing on that, it helps us combat. And it's kind of, Prabhupada makes the point, it's like a battle against Maya. We're in a battle. It's an analogy or a metaphor, however you want to put it, but we're in this battle. So we do have to recognize that we have to be nimble.
Yeah.
And association with devotees and keeping that higher taste alive. Is that okay?
Yeah.
The question was, how do we pay tribute to Krishna and not be swept away by commercialism and, you know, keeping that happiness alive of Krishna consciousness, right?
It's the struggle is philosophically we understand it,
Yeah.
right? And it makes sense. And we probably wouldn't be here listening if we weren't kind of at least philosophically it made sense to us. Like, okay, this detachment from this world, our attachments bring us suffering. And then just the connectivity of our attachments and how it brings us suffering in this world. So it makes sense to us, but then the practicality of like living a lifestyle in which we are practicing the philosophy, that's where the gap often is. Where you're like, okay, yeah, it's like, I understand like these things are, it's big hoax. This material world is like, you know, it's designed to just keep me more and more entangled. But yet I still find myself playing in it.
Yeah.
I still find myself playing the game. And that's sometimes where, you know, those that practice Krishna consciousness, we can become very frustrated with ourselves. Like, when is this ever going to end? Like, when am I going to? But philosophically, usually there isn't like a big problem. Like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, this is, I can see all this happening. But then I have to live it, and that's where the challenge comes.
But that's like the point I was making in relation to like the sadhana, doing the practical realization. We can understand it theoretically. The points about Krishna and so many things. And obviously, yeah, we're all here, we're listening, you know. And so it comes down to putting in the effort to get that realization. Not that we're creating some big effort to get there. It's coming to us, but we're positioning ourselves for the mercy by establishing our daily practice. Plus, the daily practice stabilizes our mind and puts us in a position where we can have a steady mind moving into the mode of goodness coming out. It's like a products of passion and ignorance, right? So like the more we're associating in that passion and ignorance mode, so trying to get to that mode of goodness. But yes, I absolutely relate with that feeling of frustration within myself. Like, when am I going to just, you know, not be attracted by this illusory energy that I can theoretically know and philosophically believe and understand is only causing me suffering, and actually practically feel the suffering of it, but still it's there. It's got me, you know. So that's we're praying to Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada to help us.
I like the point about sadhana, because that's our anchor in spiritual life. You know, the world may be changing always around us, but if we're tied into our sadhana, that's the one thing that we can kind of control, no matter what. I'm going to chant Hare Krishna. I'm going to read Srila Prabhupada's books. I'm going to perform some type of worship. I'm going to offer my food. I'm going to associate with the devotees. Like, that becomes rock solid in our life. Then, despite whether it's summer, winter, fall, spring, whether you're young or old, going through things in life, whatever it is, if you're just able to commit yourself to that, you know, you'll find that peace,
Right.
that you're talking about. That's something that we can, like that's within our control.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's within our control. And so, and that requires some level of like, I guess what's coming is like willpower, our own ability to be strong in the face of that. Prabhupada, I was in Atlanta, and there was one of Prabhupada's original disciples was there, and he was giving us, when he used to be around Srila Prabhupada in the early days, I forget his name, but anyways, he would say that Prabhupada would tell them, Don't be weak. Be strong. Don't be weak. Be strong. You can be strong. Don't be weak. In the, you know, in the face of these things, you know, no one's got a gun to your head making you do these things. You have a choice. So we have to be strong in the face of these mental attachments and anartas that are there. And through sadhana, you know, because that's it, just coming to the point of like having a choice. We do have a choice. Jai. Thank you. Anyone else from internet world? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Panchakopa Trupyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.